A surgeon stands with focused effort halfway through a complex operation. The procedure is going according to routine. All is well. Their hands are steady. The patient is stable. But suddenly, a thought. I just don't feel motivated to finish this. Setting aside their instruments, they walk out of the OR. Of course, this never happens, and that's the point. In the Chimp Paradox, Dr. Steve Peters makes a compelling argument. Motivation, that is, the emotional high, that feeling of drive, is unreliable. It comes and goes. It's not essential to success. What matters is commitment, discipline, the ability to execute your plan regardless of how you feel on any given day. He's right. But what he's saying can be misunderstood. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you're listening to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. First, some context. In Dr. Peters' model of the mind, the chimp is the emotional brain, and the human is the rational brain. Peters writes, begin quote, motivation is chimp-driven. It is a feeling based on emotion. The problem with motivation is that it works on feelings from the chimp, and this can shift very quickly, end quote. This is accurate. Emotional motivation is unreliable. You cannot build a life, or a career, or a body, or a character on the foundation of feeling like it today. By contrast, Peters argues, begin quote, commitment, on the other hand, comes from the human and does not depend on feelings. Commitment means following a plan even if you don't feel like it that day. End quote. Again, he's right. The surgeon doesn't operate on emotion. They operate on commitment, on discipline, on the rational choice to execute the plan regardless of internal state. So far so good, but here's where the argument can be misunderstood. Peters concludes that motivation is, in quotes, not essential to success. Understanding this requires discernment. You don't need to feel motivated constantly. That's true. But you do need some form of motivation to sustain disciplined action over time, and here's why. Pure discipline without motivation is unsustainable over too long a time horizon. Willpower on its own is finite. Relying solely on rational commitment to push through resistance eventually fails. People who white-knuckle their way through goals without any deeper drive often quit when friction increases or life circumstances shift. Discipline without motivation becomes punishment. And punishment, a technique used in operant conditioning, decreases the likelihood a behavior will recur in the future. Think about it. How long can you force yourself to do something you don't actually care about? A week? A month? A year? Eventually, the lack of any good reason to continue wins, and you quit. What people misunderstand is the difference between emotional motivation, the fleeting feeling, and stable motivation, commitment to something you genuinely value. The surgeon doesn't operate on emotion. They operate on intrinsic motivation rooted in professional identity. I am a surgeon. Patient care, perhaps the reason they went into medicine in the first place, and personal standards, excellence in their craft. That's motivation. It's just not the kind that depends on daily feelings. The stable motivation comes in several forms. Intrinsic motivation. You value the work itself. You care about the outcome because it matters to you. Identity-based motivation. You see yourself as someone who does this. It's part of who you are. Values-based motivation. You are committed to what you truly and deeply value. For example, a principle, a person, a purpose. These forms of motivation don't fluctuate like emotions. They're rational commitments to what actually matters to you. They're stable. They endure. Here's what I'm getting at. You need both discipline and stable motivation. Discipline without stable motivation eventually collapses. Motivation without discipline dissipates into wishful thinking. The winning formula requires both. Discipline provides structure and consistency. It ensures you act even when resistance is high or feelings are low. Stable motivation provides the why, that is, the reason discipline matters. It prevents burnout and keeps you aligned with what actually matters to you. It's the fuel you need for long-term commitment. A surgeon succeeds not through emotion alone, not through pure willpower, but through a combination. The discipline to show up and execute the plan, grounded in the stable motivation of professional commitment and patient care. Peter's insight that you can't rely on feeling motivated is sound, absolutely on point. But the solution, if you jump to the wrong conclusion, isn't to abandon motivation for pure, rational discipline. It's to cultivate stable, values-aligned motivation that doesn't depend on daily emotional fluctuations, and then pair it with the discipline to execute consistently. Success requires both. Emotion-driven motivation will fail you, but so will discipline untethered to any deeper sense of purpose or commitment. Here's what this means for you. Don't wait to feel motivated. That's the trap. But also, don't rely on discipline alone. That's the other trap. Instead, ask yourself, what do I actually care about here? Why does this matter to me? What values am I serving? Find that answer. Ground your discipline in it. Then execute. That's how you succeed. Not through pure emotion, not through willpower alone, but through the integration of both. Stable motivation paired with consistent discipline. The sooner you understand the difference between emotional motivation and stable motivation, the sooner you'll stop waiting to feel like it and begin discovering the real why behind your goals. As Nietzsche, the German philosopher, said, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." That's it for today. Catch you next time.